guys, RobBlue46 here, welcome yourselves back to MotoGP 21 on the Xbox Series X. It is time to take on the San Marino Grand Prix around Misano. It's the 100% race distance race. I have got tyre wear and fuel consumption turned on for this one. So, yeah, we'll see how we go. But, yeah, we're going to be talking about the three classes, Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP. We might slightly talk about Moto E as well, just because that was a bit of a dramatic end to the race. But yeah, San Marino, it is a lot of the Italians' home Grand Prix, especially the likes of Rossi, who doesn't live too far away. Franco Morbidelli was back. He is now been moved into the full factory Monster Energy Yamaha team. And Andrea Dovizioso was back as well. You may remember Dovizioso said at the end of last season that he was going to be taking a 1-year sabbatical because, well, he couldn't really find a ride, and that he didn't want to continue with Ducati. So, yeah, he has now been drafted into the Petronas Yamaha squad, where he will stay there for the remainder of the season and also next year as well. Same with Morbidelli. So, yeah, it was a good to have those two back, especially Morbidelli after he's been off for a little while, having his knee operated on. But yeah, it was a bit of a bittersweet weekend for me because I was meant to be there trackside, but unfortunately with the whole situation of the pandemic and everything, wasn't actually able to get across. And yeah, it sucks because we were meant to go last year as well, but obviously things were in a lot worse state then. But they were allowed 25,000 fans here at Misano over the weekend, so the people that got to go, they were very, very lucky to go. Yeah, so we're going to start with Moto3. It was a pretty interesting race, and it was Romano Fenati who basically took off at the front and started to pull away from everyone. He had some really, really good pace. He'd been quick all weekend, but we knew that he was going to have a really, really strong race pace, and that showed in the opening of the race when he managed to pull away pretty quickly. No one could really go with him. Antonelli tried to go with him a bit like at Silverstone, but he wasn't quite able to match Fenati's pace and kind of dropped back into the clutches of Dennis Foggia, who was up towards the pointy end as well. You also had Garcia in the front group and Andrea Migno. And that was pretty much, well, I guess the second group, because Fenati was out front and you had those guys as well. Yuki Kuni had been, well, he was disqualified from racing on Sunday. Basically, he was banned from racing. They said he's been disqualified, basically for causing a crash during free practice, basically. Or qualifying. He was basically dawdling on the racing line. He caused a crash. Sura went into the back of him and went down. So yeah, they decided to ban Yuki Kuni from racing on the Sunday, which is fair enough. They need to do something about stopping people from slowing right down to try and take a toe, because in Moto3, obviously, most of the grid do it, most of the riders do it, and it just gets a bit too dangerous, especially when you've got massive groups of riders all just dawdling about on the racing line, and you do often see big groups of them. Yuki Kuni was actually pretty much by himself, but just dawdling, obviously looking for a toe, and yeah, Sura unfortunately went into the back of him because Kuni was on the racing line. So yeah, they banned him from racing, which, like I said, fair enough. You know, they need to make an example of it, but they need to start doing it not just to people who, you know, Yuki Kuni hasn't really set the world of Moto3 on fire, But if that had been Pedro Acosta, would they have banned him from the race? Or if it had been Garcia or one of the front runners, would they have actually banned them from racing? So we'll have to, see if Race Direction are going to be consistent, which, over the years, their consistency has been very, very poor. So yeah, we'd have to wait and see what would happen if one of the front runners done it. Would they get the same treatment, or would they be treated a bit differently? Hopefully they get the same thing, the same treatment. They need to make an example of people who are basically riding around and being irresponsible and basically riding in a dangerous manner, because if you're dawdling, get off the racing line or get off track. But yeah, so Yuki Kuni was banned. Artigas was a bit beaten up. Obviously he got taken out by Pedro Costa at the previous race. Still a bit sore from that. He did have to then do a long lap penalty as well, and in the end he wasn't really able to do much. So he did in fact come into the pits because he wasn't feeling great. Yeah, not ideal. Bartolini, who was wildcarding for the basically the VR46 squad in the European Junior Moto3 Championship. He unfortunately crashed out. Romano Fenati had a really big lead, over 3 seconds, and then, about not quite halfway, maybe about a third into the race, he crashed. He lost the front. He regained the front, and then he went down. Yeah, he was going through the last couple of corners, so the front just it went away from him. He couldn't do anything with it. He tried saving it, but unfortunately wasn't able to. So he crashed out the lead, and like I said, he had about a 3-second lead at that point, so it wasn't like anyone was catching him, and it wasn't looking like anyone was looking like catching him. We saw Dennis Foggia get to the front of the second group, but he wasn't able to pull away from them. He wasn't able to close down the gap to Fenati out front. I kind of thought once Foggia hit the front of the second group that he would be able to try and reel Fenati in, but he wasn't able to, and obviously he did. In the end, he didn't have to, because Fenati went down, he went out, and that was his race done. A bit of a shame for Fenati, because Pedro Costa was struggling a bit this weekend. Whether the pressure is getting to him, or whether he is just feeling it a bit and just struggling around Mazzano. But he was in what would have been the third group with Fenati still in the race. But yeah, he was fighting with the likes of Carlos Tate and Stefano Neppa. So yeah, not great from him. Darren Binder was in the leading group for a little bit, about a quarter of the race, and then he dropped back, got disconnected from the group, and just struggled with the pace. Another very concerning issue which had been raised was that Dennis Onchu was racing. I know that sounds a bit weird. Why shouldn't he be in racing? Well, he had a massive crash yesterday, or Saturday even. A massive crash. He got knocked out. He couldn't remember what had happened. All we knew, or all he remembered, was being on the bike and then waking up in the hospital. And then he was declared fit to race, which was a bit worrying, because usually with concussion, sometimes even like a week or 10 days later, they can still say that a rider is unfit to race, because a head injury is really serious. And it was very bizarre that they did in fact say that Dennis Onchu was fit to ride. He was obviously really beaten up. He ended up with a ride through a long lap penalty as well. But he was way down the order. In fact, I think he started last place because he didn't actually get to qualify. So he had a lot of work to do anyway. But yeah, very, very weird, that one, and a little bit concerning as well, because surely they should have just sat him out, not just for his safety, but for other riders' safeties as well. So yeah, back at the front with Finati going down. Antonelli tried to reclaim the lead ahead of Dennis Foggia. Mino was there as well. Garcia was trying his best to get towards the pointy end of that group, but he didn't quite have the pace this week, Garcia. He was struggling a little bit. I think the highest he actually got was third. He may have gone into second briefly, but it wasn't for very long. He got into third place. And then the likes of Mino came past. Mazzia was there as well. Mazzia was obviously trying to do his best to try and take points off of Garcia for his teammate Pedro Acosta. So he's trying to make Garcia's life a bit tricky during the race. So yeah, like I said, Darren Binder dropped back a bit. Pedro Acosta dropped down to like 10th place at one point with Carlos Tate coming through. Sasaki was in the same group as well with Riccardo Rossi as well. John McPhee didn't have a very good qualifying, but he did manage to get some points in the race as well. No Gabriel Rodrigo. You may remember he had quite a nasty crash last time out. He high-sided when he was inside the top 5. He took part in Friday, and then when he came back in after FP2, he was complaining about pain in his arm. So they sent him for an X-ray, and it actually turned out that he's actually broken a bone in his arm, but he didn't actually realise that is what had happened after his crash. He just thought it was tendonitis or something like that, but no, it turned out to be a broken bone, so he wasn't racing. So yeah, Artigas did end up retiring, and Philip Salach went down as well. He wasn't doing too bad in the race, but yeah, Dennis Foggia, he managed to just break away from Antonelli by about half a second towards the end of the race, and he went on to take victory. Antonelli came home in a good second position, and then you had Andrea Migno also complete the podium. So you had 3 Italians on the podium in Moto3, so the crowd were very, very happy. Sergio Garcia came home in 4th place ahead of Mazzia in 5th place. Darren Binder was 6th. Pedro Acosta managed to reclaim 7th. Carlos Tate was 8th. Nepo was 9th. Sasaki was 10th. Riccardo Rossi 11th. Guevara was 12th. John McPhee was 13th. Kaito Tabo was 14th. And Suzuki was the last point scorer in 15th place. And you had Jeremy Alcoba 16th. Yamanaka in 17th place. Batelli, he was in 18th. Fillon was 19th. Fernandez was 20th. Dennis Onchu was 21st. Koffler 22nd. Sura was 23rd. And Isdai Hart was 24th. So that was Moto 3. And yeah, in terms of the championship now, so Pedro Acosta still leads the way, but it is now Dennis Foggia who moves up to 2nd place in the championship. So Pedro Acosta on 210 points. Dennis Foggia is on 168. He's only 42 points behind now. He's actually joint on points with Sergio Garcia in 3rd, who is also on 168 points, 42 behind. And Foggia has actually taken quite a few points out of Acosta over the last few races, so he's on a roll. We'll see if he can take that to Circuit of the Americas and then back to Mazzano again. 4th place now, and pretty much out of it, is Romano Fenati. He's on 134 points, 76 points behind. And you got Mazzia in 5th on 122. He's 88 points behind. Antonelli moves up to 6th place now. He's on 118 points, 92 behind. Darren Binder slides down to 7th on 114, 96 behind. Sasaki is 8th on 93 points, 117 behind. And Andrea Migno now moves up to 9th place on 84 points. He's 126 behind. There is very, very strong rumours that it is going to be Darren Binder moving up to MotoGP to be alongside Dovizioso next year, which is a bit of a weird one, but that's what they seem to be going with at the moment. Nothing concrete yet, but I'm sure we will get something very, very soon. On to Moto 2. And, Raul Fernandez, despite still having his hand injury, is still bloody fast. I mean, pole position, and, he done a great job. Sam Lowe's actually got into the lead pretty early on, and again tried to pull away, but wasn't quite able to. I think he got the gap up to about half a second, but Raul Fernandez soon managed to close that back down and reclaim the lead. Jake Dixon, he was back in Moto 2 after doing 2 races in MotoGP. Wasn't the best of races for Jake. Friday when he came back on the bike, obviously it was wet, so it kind of eased him in a little bit. But not the best of rounds from him. Back at the front, you had Aaron Canet. He was looking really good on the Bosco-Oscuro chassis, what used to be the Speed Up. But he was fighting with Sam Lowe for a bit. Remy Gardner looked like he was struggling a little bit. He was behind Augusto Fernandez at one point, but did manage to start making his way forward, overtaking a few people, and he did manage to get with, not the leaders, because Raul Fernandez did manage to pull away a little bit, but he did manage to get into, the second group, the pursuing group for Fernandez. But Gardner, he didn't look as comfortable as he has done in some of the previous races, but he just seemed to bide his time and pick people off as and when he could, and just making sure they were clean passes, and he wasn't putting himself at any risk, because obviously we're getting towards the end of the season now, and it's quite easy to make a mistake and stuff like that. So he was doing his best to keep his powder dry, so to speak, and just try to do what he could and salvage as many points as he could. But he couldn't quite catch up to his teammate. Aaron Canet, like I said, rode really well, and he did manage to get inside the top 3, was second at one point as well. Marco Bezzecchi, not the best of races from him, obviously a home race for him, but wasn't really able to do anything with it. He struggled again a little bit to begin with, fighting with Augusto Fernandez and Ayagura, but picked up his pace and started moving forward a bit more towards the latter parts of the race itself. Bit of a disappointing race for Digi Antonio, only just got inside the top 10. Don't forget, Digi does move up to MotoGP next season, but he's kind of gone off the boil a little bit in Moto2, which is a bit of a shame. A bit further back, you had Thomas Luthi was actually having a pretty decent weekend, considering he's been struggling all season long, and obviously announced his retirement, but he was just outside the top 10, so not bad at all. In terms of DNFs, you had Simone Corsi. He was unfortunately taken out on the opening lap, and he went down. Montella went down as well and crashed out. Barry Boltus as well went down. Lorenzo Dalla Porta, his Moto2 career goes from bad to worse and has another DNF. And also Chantra as well, 3 laps from the end, unfortunately went down as well. So you had quite a few people DNFing, not as many as what we had last time when there was about 10 that DNF, but yeah, it was quite an interesting race. When Fernandez was leading, you know, he was looking pretty metronomic, and yeah, it didn't really look like anyone was going to be able to catch him. At one point it looked like they were catching him back up towards the end of the race, maybe, you know, struggling a little bit with maybe tyres or a bit of fatigue with that injured right hand, but he was able to hold him off. Remy Gardner managed to sneak through into second place. He managed to get Aaron Canet on the penultimate lap, and then he started closing down Fernandez really, really quickly. I mean, the lead was collapsing. It was, you know, over a second, and then it just came down and down and down. Remy Gardner was looking like he was potentially going to, you know, make a last couple of corner lunge and, you know, mug Fernandez right at the end. But Remy Gardner had a big front end slide through Cavone, one of the quick right-handers at the back of the track, and unfortunately had to come off a throttle and lost quite a bit of time. Lost so much time, in fact, that Canet, who had actually dropped back about half a second from Gardner, was now right on Gardner and nearly was able to come through. But yeah, Gardner just pushing us like a little bit at the end there. He obviously wanted to see if he could in fact get Fernandez, because like I said, he had managed to close that gap down quite considerably in the last couple of laps. But yeah, just maybe needed one more lap to be able to do it, but wasn't able to. So Raul Fernandez went on to take victory. Doing really well as a rookie. I think that's what, 6 wins he's got now. Remy Gardner finished in second place, so another 1-2 for the Red Bull IO squad. Aaron Canet taking a podium as well in third place. Sam Lowe's played it smart this week and he managed to come home in fourth place. Marco Bezzecchi was fifth. He managed to recover a little bit, just ahead of Augusto Fernandez in sixth. Ayagura was seventh. Vierge was eighth. Rumours are that Vierge might be moving over to World Superbikes with Honda next season. Di Gianantonio was 9th place, and then you had in 10th place Vietti, Luti 11th, Schrotter 12th, Navarro in 13th. Navarro did have to do a long lap penalty. He was the one who collided with Simone Corsi early on in the race and yeah, caused Simone Corsi to crash out. Marcos Ramirez was 14th, and Tony Arbolino got the last point score in 15th place. And you had Manzi in 16th, Bulliger in 17th, Siren in 18th, Jake Dixon 19th, Garzo 20th, Bobier 21st, Arenas 22nd, Joe Roberts 23rd, Baldassari 24th, Boben Snyder in 25th. And that was it. The rest of them DNF. So that was Moto 2. In terms of the championship, obviously Fernandez closes in by 5 points. It was 39 going into the weekend. Fernandez closes down 5 points, so that lead now is 34 points. So Remy Gardner on 271 and Raul Fernandez on 237. Marco Bezzecchi in third on 190. He's 81 points behind. Sam Lowe's is out of it now in fourth place. He's on 140, 131 points behind. He's re-signed with Mark VDS for next season. Aaron Canet now moves up to fifth place on 119 points. He's 152 behind. Augusto Fernandez slips down to sixth place on 118, just 1 point behind Canet. He's 153 points behind Remy Gardner altogether. Di Gianantonio in 7th on 108, he's 163 behind. Ayagura in 8th on 104, he's 167 behind. And Marcel Schrotter in 9th on 84, he's 187 behind. So that was Moto 2. Now over to MotoGP. It was threatening to rain. It was due to rain about halfway through the race, but we didn't get any. It didn't rain. The forecast was wrong, and yeah, dry race all the way through. Like I said, it did, try raining just before the race started. A few spots of rain here and there, but nothing really came of it. It was obviously declared a flag-to-flag race, so if it had rain, they could come in and change bikes, but they didn't have to. And it was Pecco Bagnaia. He got such a good start. He basically got a perfect start, and it almost looked like he got a jump start because he was that on the ball that he must have anticipated the lights going out, perfectly. And it did look like he was starting to roll, basically as the lights went out, but he just timed it to perfection, and they showed a replay of it, and they didn't give out any jump starts or anything, but he just got the perfect start, and that was it. Within half a lap he already had 0.6 of a second lead. Obviously he won at Aragon as well after fighting with Marquez, especially in those last few laps, and managed to hold his cool. Don't forget as well, Pecco Bagnaia, he did lead the race here last season, and crashed out of the lead as well towards the end of the race, which was not good to see. But he played it absolutely perfectly this year. There was a bit of a tyre war going on with some of the bikes, like the Ducati's gone with the soft rear tyre. Fabio Quartararo went with the medium rear tyre. But at one point you had Ducati 1, 2, 3 with Bagnaia leading, Jack Miller in second, and Jorge Martin coming through into third place. Marc Marquez was in about 5th place at that point, maybe about 6th. Didn't really have the best of opening of laps, but was looking okay. Been struggling a little bit throughout the weekend. Joan Mir is, I think, getting a bit frustrated with Marquez at the moment. I think Marquez lives rent-free in Mir's head at the moment, because the way that Marquez's body is at the moment, and he can't push 100%. He has to find a toe in qualifying to ensure himself a decent grid position. And if that's what you got to do at the moment, that's what you got to do. Is if you're not capable of doing the one-off laps at the moment, which Marquez unfortunately isn't able to with his injuries and stuff, he has to use someone as a marker to try and help him. He did tag onto the back of Bagnaia in qualifying when Bagnaia was on his pole setting lap, but Marquez unfortunately lost the front and went down. So it seems like Mir is not liking Marquez's tactics, but I think Mir just needs to concentrate on his own racing rather than saying about the likes of Quartararo's going to make mistakes in that, and that's when Mir's going to claim some points back, because at the moment it's not happening, and it seems like Mir's kind of clutching at straws at the moment. But back at the front, like I said, you had Ducati 1, 2, 3 with Bagnaia leading, Jack Miller in second place, and Jorge Martin in third. Unfortunately for Jorge Martin, a little bit into the race, he unfortunately crashed out, lost the front, he went down. Icaro Cuona as well, he went down as well. He actually had a collision with Miguel Oliveira, and Miguel Oliveira dropped right back. Apparently when they had their collision, Oliveira lost one of his wings off his bike, and it was basically fighting the bike for the whole race, because obviously losing just the one wing makes it very unbalanced. So Oliveira was struggling. In fact, most of the KTM, all the KTMs were struggling this weekend. A lot of the teams have got a test here during the week, and I know that some of the teams are desperate to get that test underway, especially with the likes of KTM. The likes of Morbidelli and Dovizioso, obviously Morbidelli coming back after injury but on the factory bike this time, and Andrea Dovizioso stepping back into racing after not racing since last year. I think Morbidelli may have expected maybe a little bit more. He did show flashes of being quick during the weekend, but I think he still struggling with that knee at the moment. It's not 100%. So even after the race, you saw him riding around with his leg outstretched. So still uncomfortable with that knee at the moment. So yeah, he wasn't able to, do anything special with his return to MotoGP. Zarco, who we know is struggling with arm pump at the moment, he didn't have the best of weekends either. He was outside the top 10. He had a couple of wild cards in the form of Stefan Bradl and Michele Pirro. Obviously Bradl with HRC and Pirro with Ducati. Bradl was one of the ones who was helping Marquez in qualifying. Basically, you had Bradl go out first, closely followed by Marquez and behind him, and Alex Marquez slotting in behind his brother Mark, and the three of them just doing laps together, and obviously Bradl trying to do his best to bring Marquez, try and get him through Q1 into Q2, which he done. He was successful in that mission, but obviously Bradl didn't get through to Q2, so he couldn't do that again in Q2. The Suzukis were looking pretty good. Alex Rins was up there. He was looking pretty good. He was getting towards the sharp end of the group, and unfortunately he binned it with 10 laps to go. He crashed out the race, which as Hodgson said, it kind of sums up Rins' season at the moment. He's not having a good season. He's having a lot of crashes in the races, and not good. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he goes at the next race, Circuit Americas, because he is the last person who won there in MotoGP, because obviously they didn't go there last year, and the last time they went there was 2019 when Marquez crashed out of the lead. Rins got first and Rossi got second. Quartararo started making his way through the Ducatis. Obviously after Jorge Martin went down, Quartararo then caught and passed Jack Miller, and then he tried his best to try and reel in Bagnaia. He didn't really get there midway through the race. Bagnaia was still putting in some really good laps, but as the race progressed and the soft rear tyres started to wear out for the Ducatis, and obviously, like I said, Quartararo was on the medium rear, it started to come into play a little bit, and the gap just started to gradually come down lap by lap, and Quartararo was looking pretty good, looking on it. It was looking like Quartararo would potentially be able to fight for victory, and he got really close to Bagnaia, but he wasn't able to get through that Ducati. Obviously with the grunt it's got, the Yamaha was not able to get through. The Yamaha was a lot quicker in the first sector, but we'd seen that all weekend, even in free practice and qualifying. The Yamaha really strong in sector 1, but the rest of the lap it wasn't really able to do anything with as soon as they got onto a straight, obviously the Ducati just pulled away. Bagnaia was able to keep Quartararo at bay. A bit further back, of Maverick Vinales, who had actually topped a couple of free practice sessions in the weekend, looked really good in the dry, but it didn't really go to plan in qualifying. I mean, he did manage to get 10th place, so he did manage to get straight through to Q2. Both are pretty as straight through to Q2. I believe that's the first time that's ever happened. But yeah, he had a really bad start and didn't really recover from that. I mean, we know Vinales usually gets going towards the end of a race, but he wasn't really able to do much with it this weekend. His teammate Alicia Spargo was looking okay at the beginning of the race, but again he started fading a bit and dropping back. Then you had Jack Miller start to go backwards, but the rookie Ennio Bastianini started to come forwards, and Bastianini managed to get himself into third position. He was setting fastest lap after fastest lap and managed to get himself into a podium position and looking really good. He was trying to close down Quartararo, but Quartararo was just able to kind of, pull away because he was trying to catch Bagnaia. But, for a rookie, what a race the Beast was having, and was looking really good, and was looking like he was going to take his first ever podium in the MotoGP category. Like I said, Jack Miller started going backwards a bit. He dropped into the clutches of Joan Mir, Marc Marquez and Pol Espargaro. Mir managed to get past Mark and slot himself into 5th place. But on the final lap, Mir put quite an aggressive move on Jack Miller and actually pushed himself and Miller off track. And then Marquez just managed to pick up the pieces and slot back in from 6th place into 5th. And then because Mir went off track on the final lap, he then got to or had to drop one position in the results after the race. So I think Mir is not really going to challenge for the title anymore. But Pecco Bagnaia went on and backed up his win from Aragon to win again at his home race at Misano. Fabio Quartararo, he tried his best, but he was literally right behind Pecco, but wasn't able to put a move on him. Not unless he wanted to risk, potentially taking them both out. But he played it smart. He's thinking of the championship. There's not that many races left to go. But wasn't able to beat Pecco. But coming in 2nd place, he only lost 5 points to Bagnaia. So not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Bastianini did come home to consolidate that 3rd position. What a ride that was from the rookie. Just looked awesome. Looked really good. We have seen the Beast, look pretty good this season. And what a result for him. Marc Marquez, like I said, after that little battle between Miller and Mir, with them both going off track, Marquez did slot through to take 4th place. He was on 6th, but because of that, he managed to come home in 4th place. Jack Miller was 5th, just ahead of Mir in 6th place. Pol Espargaro was 7th. Alicia Espargaro was 8th. Brad Binder was the top KTM, but only in 9th place. So not a good result for KTM. Nakagami was 10th. Michele Pirro was 11th. Zarco 12th. Vinales gets his first points aboard the Aprilia in 13th. Stefan Bradl was 14th, and Alex Marquez was the last point scorer in 15th place. Danilo Petrucci was 16th. Valentino Rossi was 17th. Morbidelli was 18th. Luca Marini 19th. Miguel Oliveira 20th. And Andrea Dovizioso was 21st. So that was MotoGP, and Rossi's got one more race at home, and then that's it. That is will be his last ever home race in MotoGP. He did obviously go and wave to the fans and do his usual, thanking them for being there. Quite a nice helmet that Rossi had. Obviously last season he had the Viagra special helmets at both the Misano races, and he kind of joked and said that this year's helmet was kind of an evolution on that. So last year he had Viagra, and this year he's celebrating obviously a daughter on the way. So he had a pink ribbon helmet to kind of celebrate the fact that he's got a daughter on the way. So quite good, quite funny as well. Like I said, he was joking about how the Viagra helped basically. But anyway, in terms of the championship, Quartararo only lost 5 points to Bagnaia. So Quartararo leads on 234 points. On 186, is Bagnaia in second place. Mira's dropped back a bit further now in third still, but on 167. Zarco is still in fourth, but he's on 141. He's only 1 point ahead of Jack Miller now, who is in fifth on 140. Brad Binder in sixth place on 124. Elisa Spargaro is in seventh place on 104. And you've got Vinales in 8th on 98 and Marc Marquez in 9th on 92. So, yeah, I think it's literally the top 5 now that the championship is between. So, yeah, the champion this year will either be Quartararo, Bagnaia, Mir, Zarco or Miller. But, you know, as it stands at the moment, it's looking very, very likely it's going to be Quartararo. But it's bike racing. Anything can happen. But if Bagnaia is on this, you know, good form and he's on a run of potentially getting more wins, then, you know, if Quartararo can keep finishing second place, and that will be more than enough. He'll only potentially lose, you know, 20 points overall. And he's got over a 40-point lead. So, yeah, it's stacked in Quartararo's favour. He can't win it at Circuit of the Americas. He would have needed to have beaten Bagnaia here at Misano, but he obviously wasn't able to. So he can't wrap up the title at Circuit of America. So he could potentially wrap it up when they come back to Misano after that. And yeah, you know, every race he gets ticked off and gets, you know, some decent point scoring positions, you know, a step closer he is taken towards that all important championship. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting last few races. This season, as ever, has gone very, very quickly. You know, Rossi, he's got 4 more races in MotoGP and then he's done. But yeah, that's MotoGP. That was the San Marino Grand Prix. And anyway, guys, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel for more content. I shall see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to stay safe, watch and to look after yourselves. See you guys next time. See you.